A topic near and dear to my heart, Ivan LaCroix, detailing mistakes that professional detailers make.
Hi, I'm Ivan.
I'm Nick.
And this is DIY Detail Podcast. Today we're going to delve into things that detailers, professional detailers, wish they would have known a couple years ago or a couple decades ago, depending on how old you are. But it's a subject that needs to be gone over and needs to be said, and the hobbyist can learn from this as well, because there's a lot of things that pro detailers do that really is hurting them, hurting their customers, and definitely hurting their profitability. And when we translate that to a hobbyist, it's taking you too long, you may actually be damaging the car, and at the same time, you're not going to enjoy detailing as much.
One difference is the pro detailer just has a lot more reps, so they do a lot more things and they can reinforce bad patterns and make a lot of mistakes. And I guess one of the big ones that detailers go after is perfect paint.
Right. Perfect
Is that a mistake?
Paint. Yeah, it's a big mistake. First of all, perfect paint doesn't exist. We have a good friend of the channel, Jason Kilmer. He spends months, sometimes a full year, detailing a car. And no, it's not because he's slow. He's actually very efficient, but it's just that kind of undertaking that he does. And even he says he's never seen perfect paint. So for us as mere detailing enthusiasts or as detailers to say we're making paint perfect, we're not. And it's a myth, and it's a pressure that is exercised on detailers because they see pictures from other detailers online. And that detailer said, oh, I made the paint perfect. When you look at it closely, it's not perfect. It never has been, never will be. But every time you're trying to perfect paint, you're damaging paint. Every time we polish paint, we are damaging paint. We are hurting the customer's vehicle. So looking at this from a professional detailer's perspective, every time you're polishing paint, you're damaging the vehicle, you're hurting your customer's value of their vehicle. Yes, you're making it look better, but that look better doesn't necessarily mean it is better. And we should, as professional detailers, our whole goal should be to preserve and serve. So we're preserving the customer's paint and serving them as a professional. We want to explain to the customer why we're not going to remove the scratch. And if you know why you're not removing a scratch and you can convey that to your customer, you're going to spend a lot less time polishing, you're going to be a lot more profitable, and you're going to have much happier customers. And that is the key here. Having a happy customer, because a happy customer is one that leaves a review, is one that comes back, and is the one that's going to keep using your services for years and years and years.
I had a recent conversation with kind of a business coach, and he was talking about his shop taking pride on B+ work, but like A or A+ customer service. And he's like, we want your customers to be so stoked for you that they don't care about the B+. Like, they are so excited. He's like, imagine your mom or your grandma. If you gave her a B+ job,
yeah,
she would want the best for you. Even if she saw the mistakes, she wouldn't care. She would just want you to succeed. He's like, when you take care of people that well, B+ work is great. And I know there's going to be people out there who think, oh, it sounds like a hack. I get everything perfect. But it blew my mind to hear it in those terms, because I thought, man, that is so great. It's like, I've been the detailer who went after everything for perfection. It's very hard to be profitable that way. And if you think that profitability is a side thing and you're here to be the purist and get the best work done, let's talk in 5 years and see if you're still in business. Right, Ivan?
Right. Yeah. No,
I've been there. I've made those mistakes. That's what I'm saying. It's like near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. As a hobbyist, by all means, go for it. But if you're detailing someone else's vehicle, every time you're polishing to quote unquote perfection, you're damaging their vehicle. You're making it harder for the next detailer to do their job, should there be a next detailer. And you'll see it, in parking lots, things like that. Cars with the paint just flaking off the car. And we'll insert a picture here. This is one I took recently when I was in California, other side of the country. But anyways, I was down south.
Traveling all the time.
It was warmer. And we saw a number of cars on the highway that had the same thing. They have a pattern on the roof, and you can tell it's where someone is polished, because there's literally lines where the paint is failing. And that is something that we've all done, unfortunately, and that is over-polish a vehicle. As a detailer, we have never removed a scratch from paint. You're removing the paint, or clear coat, however you want to call it, down to the level of the scratch. So if you have a scratch that's 20 microns deep and you eliminate that scratch completely from view, you've removed 20 microns of paint for the width of your pad. You've damaged the vehicle. And when we can explain to a customer that, look, instead of damaging your vehicle and getting rid of that scratch 100%, we're going to round over the corners. Unless you're looking for it, you're not going to find it. And your car is going to last much longer. Your paint's going to last much longer. And the next time you get a scratch there, well, there's still meat there to work with.
Let's talk about the folks who maybe don't know how to satisfy customers, right? They think the customers are going to be them. And then they may listen to Ivan, okay, I'm going to do it this way. And then they have the one customer who's like, well, you missed these spots. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm traumatized by that. That's the customer satisfaction bar. All this other stuff I heard from Ivan is wrong. I need to be going for up here. How do you understand what customer satisfaction really is when you're the one getting paid to do the work? Because eventually you're going to get someone commenting on this, be like, wait, you're a detailer and you're getting paid to do this and you're not even going to do it? What a hack. Again, we've seen all the comments.
Yeah.
That's why I want to open up what customer satisfaction means to you, Ivan.
The first question you need to find out, or the first answer you need to get out of your customer, is why they're there. Why are they using you? Why are they coming to you to have a job done? Once you understand their why, you can adapt to what they're after. So if someone says, I want my car to be shiny. Great, we can do shiny. If someone says, I want my car to be perfect, you need to delve in a little further and ask them what perfect is for them. A lot of people, a car coming from the dealership, so a brand new car from the dealership, to them, that's perfection. And as detailers, we know that it's an okay starting point, but we can do much better than that. So understand what your customer sees and what your customer wants. Ask your customer what's bothering you with your vehicle. What defects or what things are you seeing on your paint? We see swirls from a mile away. Most people have no idea what a swirl is on their car. They drive through the car wash every week. They have that little sticker in the bottom corner that says they can go once a day if they want to, or twice a day. They go through, the car comes out relatively shiny, relatively clean. They're happy, they keep on driving. 99% of people have never been to a detailer. So we're in a different niche market here. This is definitely a niche. And for the enthusiasts out there, you have the luxury of keeping your car clean. And it's a fun thing to do. It's a great hobby. It's a great investment in your time because you're getting something out of it. Your car is going to look better. It's going to be more fun to drive. Anecdotally, some people say 50 horsepower from a coating. Not sure about that one. I know stickers are 50 horsepower. Racing stripes are about 25. So, exactly. It's up to debate on that one. But nonetheless, having a clean, well-maintained vehicle pays off in the long run. And just from pride. But as a detailer, don't let your pride get in your way of proper customer service. And that is where a lot of detailers get hit. Another one, Nick, you're really into doing interiors. And I know you've done this before, going after pet hair with tweezers.
Or even just at some point a razor blade or an electric razor, just shave the carpet. Make sure there's not one hair left in the car.
Yeah,
3 hours later and not any extra pay later and no communication with the customer about how much hair we're removing.
Yep.
And I still left a bunch of hair behind, but it was close. It was pretty close.
And not only that, when the customer came to pick their car up, what'd they do? They opened the door and the dog jumped in. So, there's that as well. Communication is a very important part of customer service. Communicating, finding out from the customer, get them to communicate what they want and find out what their level is, what they're looking at. Because if they don't see the swirls on their car, don't be the one that points them out to them. Don't be the one that shows them, look, your car is all swirled when they've never seen a swirl before. Because now you've given them your disease. Don't do that. If they're happy with their paint, they just want it shined up, they want it protected, do a nice little enhancement. They'll be happy, you'll be profitable, and they will be able to come back in the future. And customer service really comes down to proper communication skills. And those communication skills, once you know what the customer's expectations are, now you have to set your expectations to match the customer's. And we mentioned dog hair. This is a big one where a lot of details, especially when they're beginning, get really hung up on and lose a lot of time and lose a lot of money because they expect, or they think the customer expects them to get every little last strand of dog hair out of the car, when all the detailer could have done is simply ask, will the dog be coming back in the vehicle? And if the customer says yes, then as a detailer, we can say, I'm not going to focus on getting all the dog hair out of the vehicle because you're putting the dog back in. Now, if you weren't putting the dog back in, then yes, we would focus on that, but it wouldn't be serving you properly to do that because you're just going to get more on there anyways. I'm going to get all the loose stuff off what I can. I'm not going to charge you an extra $200 for going after dog hair when you're putting your dog back in afterwards.
Ivan, let's talk about rinseless wash and soap.
Yes.
Soap is fun. Rinseless wash is less time. Are those factual statements?
They are factual statements. And as a professional detailer, soap should not be in your arsenal. Or if it is, very limited use, rinseless washing is faster, it's safer, and you're going to do just as good a job in less time. And sometimes you're actually doing a better job. And it's a one chemical, powerhouse that will also clean your interiors, will clean your glass, will do all sorts of things on the vehicle that you don't need to be going after 4 or 5 different chemicals. So it's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, it's going to save you space on your shelves, and it's going to make you more efficient and profitable, and your customers are going to be happy. In my shops for almost 20 years, we used 1 ounce of soap. That's hundreds of thousands of cars being cleaned without an ounce of soap. The only reason we used 1 ounce of soap is my employees bought me a foam cannon and soap as a gag gift. And that's where the 1 ounce went, to clean 1 car. That was it. And then we went back to rinseless. So rinseless for me as a professional detailer is important. Now, if you're a hobbyist at home, yeah, get out the foam cannon, have fun, get that shaving cream lather, whatever you want to do. You're having fun. But as a professional detailer, time is money. And the more time you're saving, the more money you're making. And the more money you're making, the better you're serving your customers. And this is another part of customer service that a lot of professional detailers haven't grasped. Profitability is an important part of customer service, because if you're not profitable, you will not be there to serve your customers again.
And they're going to want you in a year or two, right? They're going to come back to you. And if you're not there, then they have to find somebody else. And I totally agree with you. I think profitability is a really important part of a business. Again, this business coach that I was talking to for an interview on my Nick at Night podcast over on the House of Rags, shout out. My podcast airs on Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, Nick at Night. Ivan, you have a podcast as well over there, The Deep Dive.
Yeah, 5 p.m. Saturdays, Eastern Standard Time.
But we were just talking about shops and being profitable, and I don't remember what I was going to say about that. What were we saying?
We're talking about, profitability is an important part of customer service. Without profitability, you can't serve your customers. And, speaking of
I forgot. Yeah. Go, yeah.
Well, but you'll figure it out eventually.
Okay. All right.
But, part of my podcast on the House of Rags is the garage audits, where I go into different shops and look at their layout and try to give them some tips and pointers on how to be more efficient, how to be more profitable, how to make the shop look better, what have you. And sometimes it's hobbyists, sometimes it's professionals. It's everywhere and anywhere in between. Some are mobile, some are shops. But the key aspect of that is everyone has a great grasp on detailing itself, but a lot of people can use help on the business ownership part of it. And that is where, we're trying to go with the garage audit. A lot of the people that you're interviewing on the Nick at Night podcast, same thing. You're, delving into a lot of business questions, because this is a low barrier of entry career choice. Detail.
It always has been. I think it always will be.
It always will be. You can go at it 2 ways. You can, invest $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in a shop and all the latest equipment before you start day one. Most people are not doing that. Or you can start with a bucket and a hose and a bit of soap and work up from there, which is where a lot of us started. Now, for the professional detailer, trying to do this as a business, you have to go a little bit beyond the bucket and the soap, and not necessarily to the $500,000, setup, but somewhere in between. And some of the things that can help with your profitability and that can help with your reputation and how customers view you is very simple things a lot of people don't think about. Make sure your shop or your work van or trailer, or if you're working out the back of a sedan, whatever, is clean. Make sure it's organized. Make sure you're not carrying more products than you need, but make sure you have all the products that you do need. A fine line to walk there. Most of the time, especially mobile detailers, you know what you're going to be doing in advance. So having the equipment with you that you need, and that's all you need. If you're going out that day to do 5 exteriors, there's no need to bring a steamer and an extractor with you. And if you're going to do interiors, there may not be a need to fill up your 100-gallon water tank full to the brim. So have that settled in. As a shop-based detailer, try to keep your shop as organized as possible. I've been into shops where my questioning in my head would be, if I bring my car here, is it going to be dirtier than when I brought it? Because that's what the shop looks like.
Yeah.
So the shop needs to present well. The other thing that professional detailers really need to work on is their communication skills, not just being able to communicate with a customer, but answering the phone. It's as simple as that. Answering the phone, being receptive to your customer, and being there when your customer needs you. In today's day and age, people expect to have things immediately. And not answering your phone is like going to a restaurant, sitting down, looking through the menu, and the waiter never coming over. And you just sit there and sit there and sit there. Eventually you go hungry. Now, if you answer your phone, great. The waiter came over. But then you're booked out for 2 weeks or 2 months. That's like sitting down, having the appetizer, getting ready for the meal. And then the waiter comes and said, yes, we'll bring your steak out in 2 weeks. It doesn't work that way. Your customers want to be served now. That's the way our society is today. 20 years ago, it might have been okay to be booked out a couple of weeks. Today, it is not. So as an entrepreneur, your responsibility is to be presentable, present well to your customer, know your subject matter. So as an example, you may not know much about carpet extraction. Well, if you get a car that comes in that needs carpet extraction, you may want to refer them to another detailer. And you won't lose the customer by doing that. You'll probably gain a customer for life by referring them to someone that is more knowledgeable than you are on that particular aspect of detailing. Because they now...
Well, no, I just mean like people love when they get good service. When they feel like you care about their best interest and you're like, listen, I'm really good at polishing paint. I know a guy who's fantastic at carpet extraction. All detailers aren't the same. I specialize in this. I can do it. But if you're interested, I might suggest you go to this guy if you're interested in a certain kind of service. I think people, I mean, they may think you're a hack depending on how you deliver that, or they may just be so grateful that you were able, through your level of expertise, to guide them, because there's just so much information. People just want to land in the right spot. They're willing to pay money for a service. They just want the best value. Or maybe I'm wrong on that. That's what I want.
No, you're 100% right there.
I want to be like, if I'm going to spend this money, I want the most value for my buck. And if you can give me a recommendation, you're a lot better than Google. I really appreciate that about you. You're an honest guy.
Right. And that customer is going to come back to you because you're the one that referred them to a better service. And that reflects on you as proper customer service because you went above and beyond and said to the customer, that's not me. I can do it. I'm not going to be good at it. An example in my shop, when we got the real disaster details, we did a lot of dealership work. So we had those, we had to do those. That was part of the contract. But when we'd have a retail customer come in, we knew we couldn't charge them enough for us to be profitable to do the job that they were expecting. So we would simply say, look, your vehicle doesn't qualify for our service, but here's another detailer that will be able to help you out. And that customer, either they weren't a customer of ours to begin with, and it was a good thing that we sent them to someone else. Sometimes it's a bet, the way you have to look at it. But at the same time, that other detailer was happy to do the job, and that's the type of job that they did. So for them, they were happy. The customer was happy. And if that customer gets a new car, then they would come to us and we would do that. But from there, it's knowing your limitations, respecting your limitations, and dealing with that in a professional manner. And professionalism is a very important part of being an entrepreneur. And professionalism doesn't necessarily mean that you know everything, but you should know where to get it done.
I'm thinking of some of the biggest mistakes I made. One time there was a freshly painted car, and it was like a piano black fender flare, and I was polishing in direct sunlight, and I burned through, and it was either the combination of the substrate or the fresh repaint or the heat. I don't know, Ivan, but it had been repainted recently, and I went through, and that was a big whoopsie. Another time is I used a certain kind of tire dressing on a driveway, and it stained the guy's driveway. And it wasn't the nicest driveway. It was probably the worst driveway in the neighborhood, which tells you something about customers. Sometimes the ones with the least disposable income tend to be the most difficult. I don't know. I'm not disrespecting anybody. I'm just like, after you get enough customers, certain things become true. And the cheapest ones can be the pickiest ones, you know? And sometimes the really nice guys can also be the most vicious ones who come after you later. But yeah, the driveway, what advice would you have for just not staining your driveway, no matter what chemical you're using? Because whether it's, I don't know if it's a chemical dependent thing, if it's a sunlight thing, if it's a tire dressing thing, but nobody wants a stained driveway, whether you're an enthusiast or a professional on someone else's driveway.
Yeah, there's a dealership we used to deal with that they parked the cars that they were delivering to the customer at exactly the same place for every vehicle. And they had huge stains on the driveway because the sales manager was a real fan of the silicone-based, really shiny, drippy tire dressing in a spray can. So before delivering every car, he'd go out there with a spray can and spray the tires, and you'd have these half moons behind the tire.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about staining a driveway, don't use spray products, first of all. We have techniques. We have our tire dressing, which is water-based. Your tire can even be wet, and you can put this on, and it's going to work out just fine. So it's very important to be mindful of what you're doing. And if you are using a product that can potentially stain, get a mat and put it down on the customer's driveway. It's going to take you 5 minutes to do so, and it can save you a really, really big headache. Iron removers are another thing. A lot of the paving stone type driveways react very oddly to some iron removers because they actually use iron oxides to get that red look in some of those pavers. So you don't want to be spraying iron remover on those vehicles. And the way we use iron remover with the perforated synthetic decontamination towel and one spray per panel, we're not using a lot. It's not even dripping off the car. So we're safe there. But there are some people that prone using iron remover by just spraying it all over the vehicle, letting it sit, dwell, and then rinsing it off. Then you can potentially stain a driveway.
What other mistakes as professionals do we learn too late that might benefit not only people doing this for money, but anyone cleaning cars, Ivan?
Well, for the professional detailers, if you think you have to hire, you're probably already too late. You should have hired sooner. And that is one of the things a lot of detailers, again, their ego gets in the way. No one can be as good as I can be. Well, if you're doing it right, you should actually teach your employee to be better than you are because you're the entrepreneur, you're running the business. Now, if you can't run the business, you're not good at the front desk, you're not good at answering customers, hire someone that is. They don't even need to be a detailer. They need to be really good at customer service. And if you have a front desk person because you like being out there polishing cars, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, you need to have that good front desk person. And if you're not that person, hire someone that is. As a hobbyist detailer, it's really going too deep into the rabbit hole. And that too deep into the rabbit hole can be, product choices. A lot of detailers, professional detailers, have way, way too many products. As a hobbyist, I can understand that you have the shelves full of different products that you like to try one here and one there and mix and match and have fun that way. As a professional detailer, that is just slowing you down. You need to pick a product and use it and get to know it so in depth that, no matter what happens, you know how it's going to react. As a hobbyist, having that shelf or shelves or room full of products, that's fine. But you just need to know how to deal with it and know that having that will slow you down because every time you're having to make a decision. And as an employer, the least decisions your employees need to make, the happier they're going to be and the better job they're going to do. Again, the better quality you're putting out, the better customer service. Efficiency breeds quality. The more efficient you are, the higher quality you're going to be putting out because of that efficiency. And if people think efficiency is cutting corners, it's far from it. Efficiency is making sure that your customer service level is up at its maximum by doing the best job possible in the least amount of time.
I just think about doing interiors as a professional, maybe starting the car up, and then moving the shifter, and maybe you've missed some spots in there. Turning the steering wheel and like looking at the steering wheel from every angle, right? Because it's going to be turned and then they're going to park. It's going to be turned, then they're going to park. So if you missed a spot, you'll notice it if you turn that wheel, look around, turn the wheel, look around. Maybe just adjust a few things on the interior as your final quality control to be like, are there any things that I missed here? And be sure to not clean just half the windshield with a magic eraser and then leave the other half really slimy. Because I did that once and I did not have a very happy customer.
No, you wouldn't have a very happy customer there.
It was a nice 50-50.
Yeah, nice 50-50. You probably would have been better not cleaning the windshield than just cleaning half of it.
Exactly. Or just leaving streaks everywhere with a sloppy windshield job. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. But yeah, having a good standard operating procedure, knowing where you're going and what you're doing. And one of the things I always did is as I'm leaving a section of the car, let's say the driver's area, I'll adjust the vents. So all the vents are lined up the same. They look like in the car's brochure. And in doing so, it allows me that second view just to look at the dash and, okay, everything is good. Excellent. And if you move the seats, if the seat doesn't have a memory, try to find some way of at least putting it back close. I didn't like, if I was moving a seat, the only seat adjustment I would do was forward and backwards. I wouldn't raise the seat or tilt the seat. The backrest, yes, but the base of the seat, because if you're like me and someone drives your car and they move the seat back and forth, not a big deal. But they adjusted the angle of the seat, they adjusted the pressure on the bolsters, they moved the lumbar support. No. Then, you have to spend another half hour trying to find that comfortable seating position that you work so hard to find. If your seats have memories, even better. But a lot of us don't have memory seats. So if you don't have a memory seat, that can become a bit of a hassle.
Totally. I totally agree on that one. Ivan, how important are door jams? How important are the things that like we could spend another hour on at the end of the like there's things you could spend another hour on at the end of every job. And I guess door jams may not be those things, but what of those are important and what of those are not, right? Because you could see the detailer like me out there who's like, just going to walk around the car 5 more times, and is there something missing under this spot? I could probably clean that more, right? You realize that you could always find more. I mean, it's not being not efficient to like always be able to find more, it seems like.
Yeah, you can always find more. And again, it comes back to what are the customer's expectations? Like for us in our shop, whenever we did an interior, we washed the exterior because I didn't want a vehicle parked in our finished vehicles lot that was dirty. It just didn't look right. And even though the customer is just paying for an interior, it's really nice for them to come and they were just expecting their interior to be clean. They show up and their car is clean. It's got tire dressing on it. That's like a wow time. And to me, cleaning door jams was much easier doing it when I was cleaning the exterior because I'd have the doors open, the pressure washer, I'd pressure wash the door jams. I know some of you are going crazy right now. Yes, our pressure washer was very low GPM and low pressure, so I didn't get a drop inside the car. But at the same time, that was our standard operating procedure. And that exterior wash on the car might have taken us 10 to 12 minutes longer. And in the end, we had a much happier customer and they were billed for it. It just was included in the price of the interior detail. It's not as if we're giving it away. Yeah. We never use the F word in our shops. And, the 4-letter word that starts with F, that is the bane of every entrepreneur's existence, free. Don't use that word.
Don't say it. That's like Harry Potter.
It's a very tough word. Yeah. But don't use the F word in business. And that being said, you can include something. You can have something that's part of a package. But even if the customer was coming to us saying they just wanted their interior cleaned, we always wash the exterior just because I didn't want a dirty car in our parking lot. Also, the mentality of you've cleaned that interior, it's pristine, you close the door and it's dirty. For the technician, it was a downer. It's like, I did all this work and from the outside, you can't tell. So cleaning that exterior, build it into your price. And that is something a lot of professional detailers don't do is, but that's going to take me an extra 20 minutes. Okay. 20 minutes, that costs you $2 a minute. That's $40 you need to charge your customer. Raise your price by $50, you'll be happy. Or the professional detailers say, I don't take credit cards because of the credit card fees. No. First of all, most people want to pay by credit cards these days. And
Yeah.
secondly, or debit cards or whatever. Secondly, raise your price by 5%. Credit card companies are going to charge you between 2 and 4%. So you're still making a bit of profit on that. And if the customer does choose to pay cash, guess what? You just made a 5% bonus. And nobody cares other than you if you're losing money. So make it easy for the customer to pay you. If you're making it difficult for the customer to pay, when you come, you have to go by the bank first and it's going to be this much, or you need to, download this app and send me the money by this app. No, don't make it difficult for your customer. You want to make it easy for your customer to deal with you. In other words, you want to answer the phone. You want to be there when they need you to be there. You want to be on time, and you want to make it easy for them to pay you.
Ivan, the truth is there's a lot of mistakes people can make. And in this video, we outline even more of them and how to learn to not make those mistakes.